Hello, yes. All right. Welcome. Glad that you're here. Happy Valentine's Day. I thought I'd see a lot more red in the crowd today. I went into the closet this morning and I thought, do I have anything red to wear? I couldn't find anything, so I wore this. But welcome. Welcome. Glad you're here. Make sure that you sign up for things that are coming up. Next week is our birthday lunch, and we're going back to Stoneworks. I think we all like that restaurant. No? Well, and I was really trying to get back to the Menger, but it just didn't work out. So we'll figure that out for the future if we can afford it. Because I think that okay, well, I'll do a magic trick or two and wait for you. And then on the 27th of February, Anna Armstrong, who is the granddaughter of P.B. Hill. Do you know who P.B. Hill was? He was a pastor here, and so Anna's I asked her, she spoke to the Legacy Lunch a couple of years ago, and we all know that she spoke and spoke and spoke. And so I asked her if she could come here and give us a synopsis of P.B. Hill's work here in First Pres. And she promised that she wouldn't go on and on and on, like the song and story that never ends. But she's a sweet lady. She's one of our deacons. I think she's been an elder. She's a doctor in town and a covenant partner here, and just a sweet person to deal with. So she'll be with us on the 27th. And then there's more. There's March events are out there on the table as well, and the sign-ups are out there. And glad that we're here. Today we are hearing from David Rodgers. I don't know who sent me an email and said, you gotta get David to speak to Keys. And when I called him, he said, no, I don't want to. So I had to twist his arm a bit. And seeing some of the extra folks that have shown up here today, probably should have had him sooner. But David, I don't know that I know David well, but I see him in the modern service a lot, especially now that Kevin is preaching, and have always had good interaction with him. And we're excited to hear from you today. And I've asked him to share about the HEB Foundation, but also to share some of his own personal journey and connection to First Pres. David, welcome, and we're looking forward to hearing from you.
Well, thanks. Well, I'll start off with just some of my life here at First Pres. Deborah and I got married here before we were members of First Pres. I don't know what the rules were, but we broke them. We were in Austin. We met in Austin. We were going to Westlake Hills Presbyterian. And anytime we'd come to visit her parents here in San Antonio, they went to Trinity, but we'd come here. And I don't know if that offended my in-laws or not, but we would come here. So we knew Lewis. And because I guess Howard and Lewis were friends, and also Lewis used to speak at Laity Lodge, so we somehow got exempt from whatever the rules were to have our wedding here. In 1988, we raised our kids here. We have three kids that are all in their 30s now. We have 9 grandchildren. All of them are the oldest just turned 7. 9 grandchildren. So our oldest daughter has 3. They live in Chattanooga. Her name's Catherine. Our middle daughter, Alexandra, has 4. They don't need to have any more. Just my opinion. And our son, who lives in San Antonio, he and Annie have 2 little boys. So they've been going fast and furious. So anyway, we grew up here. I've served as Deborah's deacon currently. I'm an elder currently. I was just sharing earlier that I was an elder during the time when we went from PCUSA to ECO, and it was just not a fun time, and to be an elder. And I got plenty on my plate, and I've said no to being an elder until this past year. I'm filling one, and it was an easy yes, because I think we're in a different place in our church, and I was happily wanting to come back and be a part of where we are today. So the church has meant a lot to us. Some of y'all might remember, if you've been here a long time, our son, who's now 30, when he was 10, do y'all remember the time when, how many of y'all were here during Rich Comwisher time? Okay. Y'all remember when he gave people $100 and said, go do something good with it? You remember that? So Jackson, we were sitting there, and he heard money, and I tried to stop him. I said, you don't want to do this. And he ran up and was one of them, and he got his $100 bill, and he came back. It's a great story. I'll do it really quickly. But he wanted to feed. You're supposed to do something good with it, Jackson. He said, well, I want to feed the hungry. Well, you could do that, but they'll be hungry a little bit later. And so we worked on things, and then so he wrote a letter to as many people as we knew in the church, and he wanted to build a Habitat house. So he asked you, so that he used that $100 to write letters and stamps, and he built a Habitat house. True, isn't that cool? So anyway, there's my part of our first Pres story. But what I want to talk to you all today is indeed about the H.E. Butt family and the H.E. Butt Foundation. You are clear that my wife is a Butt. I'm sure it was happy to marry me to go from a Butt to a Rodgers. If you have your last name is Butt, you better have a sense of humor. And that goes all the way back to Deborah's grandfather, who when he was the one that first started buying other grocery stores and then building H-E-B. I promise you this: there was a period of time in the 30s that the company's name was, because he bought 3 Piggly Wigglies, it was the Piggly Wiggly Butt Company. I have letterhead to prove it. But I don't understand why, H-E-B doesn't, in their archives, they don't talk about all that. I think it's the greatest story, don't you? So the H.E. Butt Foundation is a 4-generation legacy, 5 if you really count Florence Butt, who moved her family from Mississippi in 1905 because her husband had tuberculosis, and they moved to Kerrville. And she started a little store known now as H-E-B. So there's a little bit that Deborah is about to share with you of the origin of that. So you might recognize Deborah's. She's not here, but she's right here. Did I do this right? This is Deborah's voice. Over.
On an early morning in 1905 in Kerrville, Texas, Florence Butt awoke, preparing herself for a new endeavor. Desperate to provide for her family in the face of poverty and her husband's worsening tuberculosis, she put her lot into a grocery business. All her savings were invested, and on that morning, as she swept the new store, in a hidden corner, she found a New Testament. She declared, "This is a good omen," and immediately dedicated her new business to God. This is where the legacy of the H.E. Butt Family Foundation begins. It's a legacy best explored by those who have experienced it. A story not just of stewarding resources, but also stewarding work, faith, and even pain.
That's Florence.
Sr. married Mary Holdsworth. In 1934, they founded the A.G. Butt Foundation. Today I am 51. Howard and I have been wondering what we want most to do with the remaining years of our lives. We want to further the cause of the Christian faith, to improve educational opportunities for all children, to improve public health. We want, if possible, to establish a camp somewhere in the Texas hills where groups of children can go. For 100 years from now, deer, turkeys, squirrels, and rabbits can still be seen. How much we want. In 1954, they purchased over 1,800 acres in the Texas Hill Country to be used by the foundation.
So that's just a little bit of the origin of the family and grocery company. There's another document that has shaped our understanding of the legacy of the family. That's a letter written by her grandfather to his fiancée in 1924, Mary Holdsworth. And it's not your typical love letter, and I'm just going to read a couple of sentences of it. And he was 29 when he wrote this, so keep that in mind. We have no right to live to ourselves alone. We cannot evade our duty to God and our fellow man. Love, crowned, yes, that is first. And let us be dedicated to service. May God grant that our united life be felt as a great and lasting good for our community. I wonder if I ought to put that on Deborah's card tomorrow. Valentine's card. Yeah. Love letter. Is that kind of, y'all, man, I'm not going to use that one anymore. But 29, and that was one of the, so that letter is a pattern of the family life and the public responsibility that is never separated. Deborah grew up watching her grandmother and her parents in this integrated daily life. Her grandmother, known to all of us as Mama Two, she ran meetings out of her dining room that started literacy programs in South Texas, mental health services, tuberculosis treatments, vision and hearing for those kids that didn't have a doctor, and all of those things. And some of those nonprofits still exist today. And I'm talking about back in the 1940s she was doing this. In 1955, Deborah's grandmother was appointed by the governor to be the first woman to serve on the Texas Department of Mental Health Board. She went to every one of the institutions. We're in the 50s now. And the institutions that were housing the people with severe mental health issues, she went to every single one of the institutions to see how we were taking care of the people that they were entrusted. And so she was a fierce advocate for them. And there's one story in the family about how it kind of represents that. So first board meeting, she's the only woman. She went to every one of the facilities. She had a present for each one of the board members and asked them to open it up before they had their meal. They did. It was a metal bowl and a metal spoon. And she said, this is what we have the people that are entrusted to us eating from. It's inhumane, and we're going to change that. And that's the kind of person that she was. That courage mattered later on for her son, my father-in-law Howard, who showed similar courage, but particularly when he began to speak openly about his own experience with depression and anxiety. He had a dual calling, Howard did, my father-in-law. Obviously, he was raised to run a grocery company. So he spent, all of his days going into the companies, starting new grocery stores. But then on weekends, he had a specific calling to do revivals. So he would fly out and meet Billy Graham, and he was on Billy Graham's team. So he was doing this, both, two father figures that he wanted to, not impress is the wrong word, he wanted to serve, and had a mental clinical breakdown. So fortunately, his family understood that there were ways to help with that. And but it was a real tough experience for him, but everything good came out of it. They decided Howard, why don't you devote the rest of your life to your ministry, to the calling of the laity, to what you have to share. And let's build this place called Laity Lodge to be a tool in your hands to do that ministry. And that was in 1961. And so how many of you have been to Laity Lodge? How many of you know about the Laity Lodge? Yeah, retreat center that is for Christians and seekers, that we have different types of retreats. People can grapple with, all the things that we all do here at First Pres. He used to say, so think about it, here he is in the 50s and 60s, and his initials are, all over the state of Texas, and he is a Christian leader, and he had depression, and you just didn't talk about it those days. He used to say in his speeches, in Hollywood, it's a badge of honor to have a psychiatrist, not so much in Southern Baptist circles. So he and his wife, Barbara Dann, my mother-in-law, helped shape Laity Lodge and the foundation to be places of honesty, places of hospitality, and opportunities for people to have spiritual depth. He would still continue to be kind of criticized by the Christian community I'm back in the 50s and 60s because he really was one of the first people to start the small group movement. The small group movement where you became vulnerable and you talked about the issues that you were facing, because he came from a place where once you're a Christian, it's all glory. We don't sin anymore. And we know that that's not the case. And so Laity Lodge was a place where people could share what's going on in their lives. In fact, in his book, The Velvet Covered Brick, here's how he describes himself, and I really love this, and we use this today. Now, as I read this, think about where we are today in the way our society is pushing us to different, to these poles, right? Here's what he said. This was in the 70s. I'm too conservative for the liberals. I'm too unpredictable for the middle roaders. My friendliness towards psychiatry makes the evangelicals suspicious, but my evangelism puts me out of step with the social action crowd. It actually goes on and on and on, where he's, feeling pushed to each side, and he wanted to live in that messy middle. And I think that's what we try to do today. So his willingness to live in that tension freed countless people to think about that and the truth in their own struggles. How many of y'all remember the high calling of our daily work on the radio? Remember, Howard, this is Howard Butt, high calling of our daily work. For those that you don't know about that, there was a period of time where Howard was, I won't go into what all he was trying to do, but let me just show you this. These were 1-minute radio spots that, this one actually has animation, but they were all over the country. 2,000 radio stations at one time were playing them, and we have 450 of these. Listen to this. It's just 1 minute.
In World War II, General Dwight D. Eisenhower commanded the Allied forces. He oversaw D-Day. Later, he was President of the United States. Eisenhower knew something about being a leader, and he could be blunt in his definitions. He said, "You do not lead by hitting people over the head. That's assault, not leadership." Eisenhower sent hundreds of thousands of troops into battle. He said, "Leadership is the art of getting someone else to do something you want done because he wants to do it." This is Howard Butt Jr. of Laity Lodge. Think about the people who have most influenced your life. Did they bully you, or were their ideas and actions worth following? It's the high calling of our daily work.
Remember those? Yeah. Aren't those great? There are 450 of them. If you want to hear one of them, if you want to reminisce because you heard a bunch of them, go to our website, hebutfdn.org. Go to High Calling, and you can listen to all of them. I think we even have them categorized in different things that may be of help. So now today, where are we? Actually, not even today. How did I get here? You all now know, but sometimes when people ask, how did you get involved in the H.E. Butt Foundation? And I said, there's a long answer and there's a short answer. What do you want? And short answer, let's start there. Well, I married the boss's daughter. The longer answer is Deborah's got two brothers, and they are both in the grocery company, Howard the third and Stephen Butt, and both executives there. And this is back in 1991. Did I just say that I was, no I didn't, moved from Mississippi, was in real estate for a little while in Austin in the 80s, and then economic development, and I went back to school to get an MBA. Deborah and I met somewhere in there and married. And, you know, when you have a family company or you have a family foundation, you would like to have family follow you. You know, you're building it for the future. And so Deborah and I were the only ones left, but he started working on me to go to work for the foundation. There's a lot of good reasons why not to go to work for your father-in-law. But we worked for 25 years together and made it work, and actually made it work pretty beautifully. When we went to tell him, Howard also had a great baritone voice. When we went to tell him, we want to give this a shot. We want to start this in 1991, so I've worked there for a long, long time. He broke into the doxology. Praise God from whom all. And at the time, you know, I was only in my 30s. I thought, that's a little weird. But what son-in-law gets your father-in-law to sing the doxology because you're joining him in his family foundation? Took me a while, but that's pretty special. So I had numerous different positions. It's kind of one of those weird things that, you know, Howard was more of a visionary. I was more of an operations guy. So people would over time come to me to get answers. And so I just continued to rise in the organization as a decision maker. And so, you know, when people say, when were you this position and that position, I really don't know. But I want to make clear some things about the foundation. The H.E. Butt Foundation is an operating foundation, not a grant-making one. Majority of the foundations you all know about here in Texas or in San Antonio, the Najm Foundation, the Kronkowski Foundation, they're a grant-making foundation. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's what most 95% of us are. But we're an operating foundation, and what that is we discern what ministries or programs we believe we are called to lead, then we staff them, then we operate them. Lady Lodge, staff it, build it, staff it, operate it. Our other programs. We have about 150 employees. Most foundations our size may have 15 because it's just different work. A lot of our 150 employees are running or taking care of that 2,000 acres that we have on the Frio River. We have 5 campsites. The largest holds about 300 kids. Then about 150, then it goes down. And then we have Laity Lodge, and we have a family camp. When we are full, when all our beds are full, that's 900 people. We double the size of the Lakey community. So we are the second largest employer. And one other funny fact that someone told me recently, we serve, just in the summer, 150,000 meals in 4 different kitchens. Across that property. So we're basically running a small city out there. And where do those people come from? Remember Deborah saying about her grandparents wanting to buy the property to provide camp for kids that couldn't afford to go to a paid camp program? That's about $15,000 a year. Church groups, inner city youth development programs, schools. And then about $7,000 participate in and pay Laity Lodge Youth Camp, Laity Lodge Family Camp. And so I'm missing an outdoor school. So that's kind of what I've been running for a long time in my work with Howard. When Deborah's parents passed away, or before they passed away, they shared with us that they were going to give a majority of their estate to the foundation. And we need to begin thinking about how we are going to steward that money away from the camps. Because as Deborah's mother said, if you keep building out here, you're going to ruin the beauty and the purpose of this place. And she's absolutely right. So what we did is a couple of things right quickly is first we formalized our governance. So this was grandfather's foundation. Grandfather's Foundation, he tells you what he wants you to do. He says, if you're, I need you on the board now. You didn't have really many bylaws. But if you want your foundation, family foundation, to exist long into the future, you really need to put some things in where your next generation doesn't fight about stuff. And so we spent really through COVID with Deborah's brothers, so Deborah and me and her brothers, working through this with the help of the National Center for Family Philanthropy. And now we have the next generation on the board, my middle daughter and Stephen Butt's daughter, Sarah Butt. And so that generation is involved in with us. The second thing we did is went through a strategic planning process guided by the family saying, use the past as a guiding post, but not a hitching post. That's a family saying. David, use the past as a guiding post, but don't hitch up to what, just because we did it 20 years ago doesn't mean you have to. I'm doing okay on time? Okay. There's a story that Deborah's brother tells. So when he was about his grandfather, so Howard Butt Sr., when my brother-in-law was in his 30s, his grandfather sent him down to the valley to run the run the stores down in the valley. And Howard was 30-something, okay? And so he called him into his office in a big old giant desk, and he said, now, Howard, I want you to go down there. I want you to use the past as a guiding post, but not a hitching post. We make a lot of money down there, and don't mess it up. Okay, so Deborah and I went into a serious strategic planning process. Okay, how do we think about the generations before us and what that legacy is and what fits us right now? And so there are three main things: mental health and wellness, support of families and children on the margins, particularly those in San Antonio, and helping people love their neighbors by knowing their neighbors' stories. Those three areas. We are not experts in mental health, but we have a lot of influence. So here's how we have done this. Oh, and someone just sent me something that's great. So we know camps. We know that every camp counselor in the state of Texas has to take a sexual abuse awareness program before they can be a camp counselor. Great. Nothing wrong with that. Great. They're going to have more mental health issues in their cabin than they are those. But we don't ask them to do anything. Why is little Johnny being just such a jerk? Well, maybe there's some stuff. And let's give you some training. So we started with American Camping Association. This was also during COVID. American Camping Association, the National Alliance of Camp Health, and us, and a few other camps, and said, we need to change that. And we need to have an opportunity for college kids to get some training and understanding. And so that started, and the guy who's now, and we gave it away. So we did this for 3 years, developing the process, gave it away to the American Camping Association. And one of the guys just sent me something because I was going, how many camps are using this now in the country? And he just sent me this. We've now been able to train 190 organizations, that's over 300 people doing the training, which benefits 12,000 college-age kids across the USA, to improve the well-being of 200,000 children in camps. That's in 3 to 4 years. Isn't that the coolest? So we're not experts in that, but this is what we were doing and kind of being catalytic. What can we do to be a program for when the state legislature wants to give money, not to safety for schools, but mental health and wellness for schools? Hire a counselor for each school to be a counselor for the teachers. That's doable. And I think that can happen in the next legislature, and so that's a collaborative effort. Those are two things in mental health, and probably the one I'm excited about all of them. But have any of y'all heard of Congregational Collective? Does that come up at all? So we started, the church does not do a good job with mental health and wellness. But people go to their clergy or go to their church. This is national. 65% of the people go there first. But only 5% of churches, clergy, know what to do with it or do the right thing. Well, that's not good. If that many people are going, then the church needs help. So what can we do to help the church change their culture to where they're more prepared to welcome those things? If you are having a mental health issue with your son, we are a place that you can come. And we're not having counselors, but we're getting that kind of peer training to where we can be of support and hopefully be upstream before a child gets so far down that you all know what can happen in families. Does that make sense? So that's the mental health. And then I told you about I'm all right. Support for families and children on the margins. That is when we decided Deborah and I could have said, let's just have with the new funding we have, let's just have a grant making arm. And I've watched it for 25, 30 years, and I just doesn't. That's a bureaucracy I don't know that we want to do. But why don't we find the 30 some odd organizations in San Antonio that are already doing really good work with families and children, particularly those on the margins, and help their leadership be more effective and more efficient and more cooperative and collaborative. We learned they really work in silos when they are right next door sometimes. And so that's been 7 years, and it's working with the leadership and helping them do those things that I just said. And it's making a huge difference in San Antonio. And it's about 30, 35 that and it's a relational thing. So it's a relationship we have with them, not a transactional relationship. And proud of some of the work that's happened there. And then kind of finally is our Know Your Neighbor initiative, which exists for all of you. You can be a part of Know Your Neighbor. And what we're doing is we're trying to find ways to widen the circle of human concern. We are all loving people in San Antonio. In this church, we're loving people, especially the people that we know. But if we don't know someone and we don't know their story, then it's really hard to kind of have those conversations or relationships. So, how does that manifest itself in our work? Here's one of the things that we do. We do what's called a shared table. So we invite you to come to our office, and about 50 people, and we have round tables, and we're going to have a nice meal, and we're going to sit you not with your spouse or your friend. We're going to sit you with people you don't know, and they don't know each other as well. And we're going to have facilitated conversation, and it might be about housing in San Antonio. It might be about schools, and to help each other understand, well, here's my experience in San Antonio with schools. What's yours? So I'll tell you a quick story of one of the ones that I was in. And of course, when you do that, you have these little icebreakers. And so I was on a table, and it was about housing. Our icebreaker was, when you think of the word home, what does it mean to you? Well, Deborah and I I was about the second or third person to say something, and it was really sad. It was really bad. Deborah and I had just moved from Almas Park and the house where we raised our kids for 31 years out to Hill Country Village. And so I was just saying, home means each room, what we did in the yard, and how we blah, 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 just going on and on about that. And it went around the room, and Ingrid was her name, and she very sweetly said, David, in those 31 years that you lived in that one place, I think I lived in 20. And so the word home or house to me had a very different meaning. When I was little, I didn't know if I should make a friend or not, because I might not be there the next week. And so it was stressful. I didn't know that happens with people. And so then the totally different experience. And that just opened up dialogue. And she and I think we're due for going to have coffee, but I've learned about her, and she's had a rough childhood. She's highly educated, but has that rough childhood stays with you over time, and when you get to know. Anyway, that's my story with her. But you will find, if you participate in any of our Know Your Neighbor things, that you'll learn about your neighbor, and you'll learn, hey, what is different, and what can I do as a good neighbor, as love God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself? What is my role in that? And that is what Know Your Neighbor is supposed to do. And you can participate in it. All you have to do is go to knowyourneighbor.org. sign up for either an event that we already have planned, or at least sign up to be a part of, knowing when the next thing's coming. And just give it a shot. It's really easy. And we don't even make you pay for that delicious meal. I don't think. We probably will start, but anyway, we're not. Because it's our gift to help our community widen the circle of human concern. There's so much more to say about that. Let me end. I'm going to end now, and then if there's Q&A. But let me end with this little story. We go to a lot of Lady Lodge retreats, and this is now 7-8 years ago. A woman came up to Deborah and me and patted us on our hands and said, "I just want you to know I pray for your glorious burden." Thank you. Glorious burden. And I didn't know what she meant, went away, but that stayed with me and Deborah, and just stayed with me. And sure enough, the next summer, there she was. She said, "We're praying for your glorious burden." I said, "Well, what do you mean by that?" She said, and she knew Deborah's parents, and she knew Deborah's grandparents and what they did. She said, "Well, the glorious part is you stand on the shoulders of your grandparents that did da-da-da-da-da, and your parents that did da-da-da-da, and the burden is you stand on the shoulders of those same 4 people." So we try to think about the glorious part and not so much the burden. So that's what I wanted to share. I don't know if we're done, or you want Q&A, or what do you want to do now?
We have time for question and answers. If there's anyone who has a question that you'd like to ask David.
Yes.
I know First Pres used to go to Lady
Yeah.
Lodge
Good.
for a retreat
Yes.
in February.
Yes, they did. Yeah,
And we haven't done that
that's right.
quite a few years.
Let me explain that. We were doing a lot more church retreats. So First Pres had one, Trinity had one, somewhere in Austin had one. What we were finding is we were giving you the whole weekend. We still ran it. I don't know if you remember that. We still ran the retreat. We worked with your clergy to see what. But the churches started only sending 25. And we didn't know they were sending 25 until the week before. We tried to do all the registration, but only 25 are coming. You can't run the retreat center like that. And so we were feeling like, and a lot of churches, I'm not saying it was this church, but a lot of churches didn't do a very good job of letting the next generation in on it. It was this Sunday school classes. And that's not being a good steward of when you can only do 30 some odd retreats. You are welcome to come. That's the thing that we didn't do real well. Church people that have been coming to their church retreats, you can come to almost every retreat that we have throughout the year. There's about, there's 35 or 40. 10 of them are specialized retreats. We even do anyway, I won't go. But that's what it was a strategic decision to make sure we're utilizing our asset to the best, and having church retreats have their own time wasn't doing that. They could go to Mo Ranch. We were doing something different than that. So it was hard, but you can go to any retreat you want to. You just call me and I'll sign you up.
Fred.
Shout out for Know Thy Neighbor. We have a training session on the 28th, 2 weeks from tomorrow, on how to teach people to run a table
Yeah.
at a Know Thy Neighbor event.
Yeah, did y'all catch that? Yeah, so we've also found people get excited about this, and I want to take a shared table to my sphere of influence. And so we have a training in how to do that, where we're being catalytic and letting other people, learn from what we're doing.
I listened to Kevin Germer. And
Kevin.
He said he was at a camp, so he's working for the ACB.
Yeah, so Kevin Germer, who's been preaching here for the last month and a half, he works for the Laity Lodge, the retreat center. And so, yes, he works for all the things that I'm talking about. Yeah, he's one of us.
And we've been blessed to have him.
Yeah.
And we realize that you're just sharing him with
We're
us till
just
the end of the
sharing
month.
him. Yes, we have made that clear in the elders meeting. We're sharing.
The name of the 30-some-odd retreats that you do during the year, are they all Christian related?
Yeah.
All of them?
Maybe 1 or 2 a year that we might be.
Operations per se.
No. It's all faith-based. When I say 1 or 2 a year, it's still about, it may be a more know your neighbor type of thing, but not overtly Christian. But we are who we are. We tell people anyway. But let me just
Invited to attend any of those retreats, it's like come and meet a different type of Christian?
No.
Somebody from different denominations?
Oh, definitely a different denomination. Remember, Howard Butt was Presbyterian. I'm sorry, Howard Butt was Baptist. Deborah and I are Presbyterian. Deborah's brother is Episcopalian. Our two younger generations, they're non-denominational. Ever since Howard started it, we were ecumenical. But no, I want to be very clear. When I said only 1 or 2, I'm just saying they are not overtly faith-based. But would you sit with somebody that's a Baptist? Absolutely. But isn't that great? You're getting to know your neighbor. So that's, and they're just all Bible study.
I like the whole idea of that.
Yeah.
But I don't know that any of us were aware that we could just contact someone and say, we and our 5 other people from our Sunday school class would like to come to a retreat.
And that's right. And you can do that. And look at our website, just ladylodge.org, and you'll see all the ones that we have. It's also very well attended. And, people say, well, you're always full. And that is great, but there's always a waiting list. And so it's hard to realize that sometimes we can't have everybody that wants to come.
Other questions?
I just have a comment about the magazine, and I have a hard time putting in the recycle thing. So what should I do with all of the things? Because it's always talking about your neighbor, and you learn about so many people.
Yeah.
So I treasure that. And so do you have a place we could share with others?
How interesting. I've never had that question before. So you get our echoes, and there's some over there, and you like them, and you don't want to throw. It's not like a magazine that you throw away, so you don't want to throw them away. And you're asking me that's a great question. Give them to your friend that's not there. When you go to have coffee with somebody, go, hey, I want you to read this.
Okay. How about our library? Even our library.
Yeah, the library could be a place too.
Little libraries around town.
Yeah, love it.
And our church.
Thank y'all. Yeah. How many get, I think probably just a small handful get that. Do y'all read them? Yeah. Well, that's, sometimes organizations do their newsletter, and it's a lot of money, and no one reads it, and I'm just so grateful that the quality in which we're putting that out and the stories we're putting out. I like to ask that question because I do think y'all read them, and I do think the power of storytelling. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks.
Well, thank you, David. I'm so glad that we had you come. I have a little token of our appreciation for your lapel, and I'll be looking for it on Sundays.
Yeah. Well, I don't wear this jacket unless I'm going over to that one, but I'll do it. Thank you.
And I can't believe that I've been almost 10 years here and haven't been to Lady Lodge yet. So I'll fix that. I want to come visit. And yeah, we can come up with a Keys retreat or maybe even a summer picnic that we have kind of postponed because the place that we went is not available to us anymore. So we've learned a lot of good things today.
It's about an hour, 45 minute drive. So just know that you're not going to Moran. You're going a little further. And you have to drive through the river.
Nice.
Were you affected by the storm, by the...
Do you want me to say something about that? Absolutely. Here's the river basin for Guadalupe, and here's ours. It's about 15 miles as the crow flies.
And we had 2 floods. We actually had a flood on the 4th of July and the 12th of July. The 12th of July for us was even bigger than the 4th of July. Our kids were all safe. We lost every, river toy that we had, and our roads get just washed out. It has changed the way camps are going to operate. It is all good that what the legislature is demanding that gets done, but there's a lot of camps that cannot afford to do that. There's a lot of extra layers because they didn't have any camps involved in those decisions. It was just, anyway, it's gonna, but you got to be real careful how you talk about it. But you all will start seeing sometime around spring break that the people or camps saying we're not going to be able to do it because of the what is being required right away. It's fine, give camps a little bit of time. We've got we've got resources. We can do what needs to be done, and we want to do what needs to be done, and so do other camps. But they just can't do it all and that quickly. So yes, yes, we were.
Other questions before we pray and have lunch together? Thank you again. And you can be looking for more information, even if it's just to be connected with what's happening at Lady Lodge. And I make a commitment to plan a trip for us there at some point in the not too distant future.
I left a few things on that table over there. One was about Know Your Neighbor, and the other one is the most recent magazine that she was talking about.
And don't forget to sign up for things coming up in February and March. Glad to see you. And for the new faces that are here that aren't here every week, we do this every Friday. Not with David's not coming back next week, but we have a guest speaker, and you can see who they are going to be. A lot of times people say, well, I don't want to hang out with all those old people. Well, yes, we are mature adults, and that's right. And a lot of times when folks come kind of just to visit it one time, they say, I'll come back. And we're picking up. So come back. And if a good time to come is on our birthday lunches. We get a lot of folks to come to our birthday lunch, and $15 for lunch at Stoneworks is a bargain. We kind of get a group rate, but we also subsidize that a little bit with some of the funding that we have. Not a lot of funding, but some funding. So encourage you to continue, bring somebody with you. But the best thing that I enjoy, the thing I enjoy most about Keys is what takes place over here, around these tables. And it's fun to watch when people hang out after lunch, and the only people who leave quickly are the ones who are playing mahjong, because they want to get to the tables and get their wins in order. Is that a proper thing? But anyway, there's a lot of good fellowship that takes place on this side of the room on Fridays, and I know I'm speaking to the choir, but let's pray together. Father, thank you for what has taken place through finding of a Bible in a store that was at the beginning that influenced a whole family, and the legacy that is there. And thank you for how you are using the Butt family and how you have used them, and pray that you would continue to use them. Thank you for all that is being done in the wake of wanting to do what's right before you, and then taking the most of the opportunities. Thank you for today, for our opportunity to come together and have lunch. We ask your blessing on our time around these tables. We ask your blessing on the food and those that have prepared it, those that will serve it, and just give us a good time of fellowship together. In Jesus' name, amen.